The video came on a Tuesday. There was nothing special about that day. I'd already been elbow deep in prep work since sunrise. My life as an executive chef rarely had quiet hours. On break, I was going through my personal inbox between menu planning and supplier calls when I saw the subject line, OMG, did you see this? Paul is my cousin. Reliable, awkward, one of the few in the family who ever treated me like a person instead of a paycheck. The email had an attachment video file, a bit old, timestamp, Christmas last year. The one I missed because of a work emergency. The emergency being I needed to complete inventory, meet a last-minute guest chef, and get ahead on my prep for New Year's week. The job had always come first, or rather, they expected it to. I was the only one who could afford to say yes to everything. The video buffered slowly over resort Wi-Fi, 43 seconds. That's all it took. The screen opened on my family's old farmhouse, twinkle lights, off-key music, someone laughing. The kind of cozy that only looks cozy from far away, then voices. First, my sister Danielle, clearly tipsy. Thank God Nathan couldn't make it. We can finally relax. Someone laughed off screen. Then came my brother, Mark. He's always so serious. Like, we get it, you cook. Doesn't make you better than us. Then my mother Helen's voice. Quiet but clear. Well, his fancy kitchen salary paid for that roast on the table, so I can tolerate his attitude. My father, Gerald, raised a glass with a smug little smile. To Nathan, our personal ATM. They all toasted, laughed, lifted their glasses. To me, not to my generosity. Not to the fact I'd been paying off Dad's mortgage since he had his stroke, covering Danielle's yoga studio rent, or sending $500 every month for Mark's kids' braces in summer camps. No, they toasted me like a joke, a source, a credit card with a heartbeat. The video cut off. Paul's message followed. I'm so sorry. I meant to send this to my therapist to talk about how toxic this is. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't reply. I couldn't even breathe. My hands were trembling. I shut the laptop and locked myself in the dish room until I stopped shaking. 3 years of supporting them, quietly, proudly, blindly. And this is what they thought of me. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just kept moving, plating food, smiling through service, finishing the night with a kitchen cleaner in my hand. The tears came later on the drive home. Somewhere between the second toll booth and the turnoff to my apartment, I had to pull over twice. I made it home eventually, quiet except for the sound of the keys slipping from my hand. 5 missed calls blinked on my phone, 2 from Danielle, 1 from Mark, 2 from Helen. It was the first of the month, after all. Transfer day. They didn't know I'd seen the video. Not yet. I turned my phone face down on the counter and sat there for a long time. Then, with hands steadier than they'd been all day, I opened my banking app. Recurring transfers lit up like a crime scene. Gerald and Helen, $1,200 Danielle, $800 Mark, $500 plus extras Danielle's wellness retreat loan, Mark's HVAC emergency. Birthday gifts I'd sent for the kids when no one else had bothered. Over $95,000 in 3 years. $95,000. Money that could have bought me my own place. Paid for culinary school in France. Let me sleep more than 5 hours a night. I'd been eating instant noodles twice a week while funding their dinner parties. I turned off the transfers, one by one. Then I poured myself a glass of wine. And just like that, Nathan, the ATM was closed. Morning brought a kind of stillness I hadn't felt in years. No buzz from my phone, no anxious stomachache. Just the dull hum of the espresso machine at the staff cafe and the sound of seagulls riding the coastal breeze. My apron was already on by 6:30, and by 7, I was chopping parsley like nothing had changed. But everything had. At lunch, I checked my phone again. 7 new voicemails, mostly from my father. Nathan, just checking you forgot the transfer this month, right? Hey son, Mom said she can't fill her blood pressure meds. Can you send the usual soon? What's going on, Nate? We're waiting. Then Danielle chimed in, hey, big bro, weird issue with the electric bill. Can you Venmo $300? Just until next week. Followed by Mark, kids need gear for soccer season. I'll pay you back by fall. I swear. Not one asked how I was doing. Not one wondered if I had a power bill or a sore back from 14-hour kitchen shifts. No, how are things, Nathan? Just where's the money? I stood in the back hallway where we store the delivery crates, phone in hand, pulse quiet. Then I opened my banking app again and clicked a button I'd hovered over for months. Cancel all recurring transfers. The moment I did, a weight lifted off my chest so suddenly, I had to sit down on an empty crate. My hands were shaking, but not from guilt, from relief. That night, I sent one text, just one, to mom, no transfer this month, handling some personal financial stuff. Her response was almost immediate. Nathan, this isn't funny. Your father needs his medication. You know that. I didn't reply. I made a simple dinner. For once, just for myself. Not for guests, not for family. Just pasta, garlic, olive oil, and some grilled shrimp. I sat down and actually ate it warm. My phone buzzed all through dinner. By 9:00 p.m., I had 19 missed calls and over 40 text messages. You're being incredibly selfish. Gerald, you're not seriously cutting us off, right? Danielle dad could have a stroke. Is that what you want? Helen, this is unbelievable. After everything we've done for you, mark that phrase, everything we've done for you. As if raising me had been a transaction. As if putting a roof over my head as a child entitled them to own my adult life. I almost caved. Conditioning runs deep, especially in families where love is measured in sacrifice and silence. I reached for my phone, opened the banking app, hovered. Then I remembered the video. Danielle laughing. Mark mocking. My mother tolerating. My father toasting. To Nathan, our personal ATM. My thumb hovered over the send button, then moved back. I turned off my phone. And for the first time in years, I slept through the night. By the end of the week, I had changed my number, set up a new email, quietly deactivated most of my social accounts. Not to hide, just to breathe. I wasn't running away from them. I was walking toward myself. A week later, the silence was broken. Not by a message, not a voicemail, but a knock on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. Danielle. Hair frizzy, oversized hoodie, barefoot in designer sandals, she looked more annoyed than concerned. She held her phone in one hand and a latte in the other, like she'd just walked over from brunch. I stood there, watching her from the other side of the door. Eventually, the first opened it. What the hell, Nathan? She didn't wait to be invited in. Just pushed past me, her expensive perfume chasing her like smoke. You changed your number? Seriously? You ghost your own family? I stayed silent. She dropped onto the arm of my couch, crossing her legs. Mom's losing it. Dad's threatening to go to Paul's for help. Mark says you blocked him. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. I needed space. Space? She scoffed. You can't just cut us off because you need space. Rent is due. My internet got shut off yesterday. Still, no question about my life. No, how are you, Nate? Just another variation of fix this. I exhaled slowly. I'm not sending money, Danielle. She blinked. Can't or won't. Won't. Her eyes narrowed. Unbelievable. After all this family has done for you, like what? I said quietly, list it for me. Because for the last 3 years, I paid for your rent, Dad's bills, Mark's kids' school stuff while living in a tiny apartment and skipping vacations. She stood up. You think you're better than us because you're a fancy chef now? No, I said, but I know I'm not an ATM. She flinched. Maybe she remembered the video. Maybe she'd seen the guilt on Paul's face when he told her. I took a step closer. I saw it, Danielle. The video, the one where you toasted me, where you called me uptight. Where Dad said I was your personal bank account. Her face went pale. We were joking. No, you weren't. She opened her mouth, closed it again. I pointed toward the door. You need to leave? No, you want. That's different. She stood there for a second, stunned. Then her voice sharpened. You'll regret this. You're turning your back on your own family. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because for once, I wasn't carrying the guilt. I was just holding the truth. And it was finally heavy enough to put them down. It had been 6 weeks since I turned off the transfers. Long enough for the dust to settle. Long enough for silence to get comfortable. I'd almost started to believe the worst of it had passed. The missed calls had slowed. The angry voicemails turned into awkward silence. Even Danielle, after her dramatic exit from my apartment, had stayed quiet. And then one afternoon, I left work and found Mark sitting on the bench outside the resort's staff entrance, with his 2 sons beside him. Of course, the guilt hit fast and hot, the way it always did when kids were involved. Uncle Nate, One of the boys shouted, "Leo, the older one." He ran over and wrapped his arms around my waist before I could react. I patted his back out of instinct. "Hey, buddy." Ben, the younger one, was still in his soccer cleats, kicking at a loose rock on the sidewalk. He looked up at me with those same wide eyes he had as a toddler. I used to babysit him on my days off. Made dinosaur pancakes even though I hated the cleanup. I looked up. Mark stood slowly, brushing crumbs off his jeans. "We were in the area," he said. "The boys wanted to see you." I didn't believe him. But I also wasn't about to scold him in front of his children. We walked to the cafe down the road, a small place with overpriced sandwiches and a corner booth that used to be our Sunday tradition. The boys ordered ice cream. Mark and I sat in silence. He cleared his throat. "I didn't know Danielle came by." I nodded. "She did. She told me what you said about the video. I'm not going to rehash it. I'm not asking you to." He paused, stirred his coffee even though he hadn't added cream or sugar. "You're angry," he said finally. I didn't respond. He went on. "I get it. What was said was cruel. We were drinking. It was a dumb joke. You toasted to me like I was a direct deposit," I said flatly. His eyes dropped. "You're right. That caught me off guard." "I didn't realize what it looked like until I saw it again," he added. "Paul sent it to me too. Said he regretted filming it." "Funny," I said. "I'm glad he did." Mark sighed. "I didn't come here to beg, Nate." "Then why are you here?" He hesitated. Then he looked through the cafe window at his boys. "Leo needs braces. Ben's physical therapy isn't covered this year. Things are tight." There it was. I folded my hands on the table. "Mark, do you understand that I've given you over $18,000 in the past 2 years?" He blinked. "18,000, I repeated. "For the kids, for your car, for your heating system. And I never asked for a dime back. Never even asked how you were doing. I just gave." His mouth opened, then closed. "You all taught me something," I said. "That love in our family was conditional, useful. If I was giving, I was good. If I wasn't, I was selfish." He swallowed hard. "I'm not saying I didn't need help," he said, "but I never meant to make you feel like you didn't matter beyond the money." "I didn't feel that way," I said. I knew it. We sat in silence, the kind that feels like unfinished business. "I love those kids," I added quietly, "and I will always care about them. But I won't be leveraged through them anymore." He looked at me like he wanted to argue. Then, wisely, he didn't. "I don't want your money," he said, and to his credit, his voice cracked. "I just don't know how to fix what we broke." "You start by not pretending it wasn't broken," I said. "And by not dragging them." I nodded toward the kids into something they don't understand. He nodded. We walked back to the resort parking lot. I hugged the boys goodbye, promised to send birthday gifts, said we'd go to the arcade next time. Ben looked up at me, serious. "Don't be lost again, Uncle Nate." My throat tightened. "I'm right here," I told him. I was never the one who got lost. Mark watched me as he buckled the boys into the car. He didn't say thank you. He didn't say sorry, but he looked like he wanted to. That was enough. For now. Back at my apartment, I stood in the kitchen staring at the fridge. I hadn't planned dinner, hadn't really planned anything. I was exhausted not just from work, but from carrying years of unspoken weight. Every time one of them showed up, it was like someone dropped a sandbag on my chest, and I kept trying to breathe through it. But tonight, for the first time, I didn't feel like I owed them anything, not even forgiveness. Not yet. That night, I sat on my small balcony with a cheap glass of wine and the hum of the ocean in the distance. I didn't cry. I didn't text anyone. I didn't plan how to respond or what to say next. I just sat. Still. Quiet. Mine. It was the first time in my adult life that I felt what it meant to belong to myself. 3 days after Mark's visit, I got an email from my mother. Subject line, "We need to talk." No hi, no hope you're well, just that cold, curt header. The message inside was short. "Nathan, whatever you think you saw, you're misunderstanding. We're your family. We love you. Please call me so we can sort this out." I sat with it a while. The phrasing clung to my skin like humidity. No apology, no ownership. Just the same old performance. Gaslight, guilt, gloss it over. I didn't respond. 3 days later, another email arrived. This time, more desperate. "Your father had to borrow money from Uncle Ray for his medication. Is that what you wanted? To humiliate us? To make your father beg?" And there it was, the guilt grenade. I didn't reply immediately. I poured coffee, fed the neighbor's cat I'd agreed to watch, took a walk. Then I sat down and typed a single sentence. Dad has a pension and Medicare. His medication is $43 a month. I checked when I used to pay for it. I hit send, no flourish, no anger. Just facts, something my family had always avoided. She didn't reply. A week passed. The silence returned, colder this time. But I didn't fill it, I let it exist. That silence wasn't absence, it was space. The kind I'd never been allowed before. That Friday, I had a half day from the resort and decided to go house hunting, not seriously, just browsing. I wasn't ready to buy, not yet, but I wanted to look at spaces that were mine. Clean walls, high windows, a tiny backyard for herbs. I wanted to imagine for once a life that wasn't just about surviving other people's needs. Later that night, I treated myself to a dinner out, one I didn't have to cook. Sat alone at a coastal bistro with fresh seafood, candlelight, and a chilled glass of Sauvignon Blanc. I was halfway through my meal when my phone buzzed. A new number. The message read, "Mom gave me this number. I miss you. Can we talk?" Dad, I didn't answer. Not then. The next morning, I woke to a longer message. "Your mother's struggling. Danielle might lose her apartment. Mark says the boys are upset you're not around. This has gone far enough, son. Let's fix this. Family is family." I stared at those words for a long time. Let's fix this. Like I broke it. Like standing up for myself had caused the earthquake. I typed a response and deleted it. Twice. Then finally wrote, "I'm not the one who toasted to my own paycheck." No reply. That night, I came home from a late shift to find a letter slipped under my apartment door. The handwriting was unmistakable. Mom's. It wasn't long, maybe half a page, but it was the most real thing she'd said to me in years. "Nathan, I know you're angry. I understand more than you think. Watching that video again, it hurt. I said awful things. We all did. I don't have an excuse. Just regret. I miss you. I miss the son who made our lives easier. Yes, but more than that. I miss the one who called after long shifts just to check in. The one who never forgot anyone's birthday. I took your goodness for granted. We all did. If you never want to speak to me again, I'll understand. But if you're willing to talk, really talk, I'll listen. Love, Mom." It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. That night, I sat on the floor, letter in hand, and cried for the first time since this all began. Not because I was sad, but because it felt like someone had finally seen me, even if only in hindsight. The next week passed without drama. Then, on Saturday, Danielle called from a new number. I didn't pick up, but she left a voicemail. "Hey, I don't know if you'll listen to this. I'm sorry. About the video, about all of it. I didn't realize how much you were giving until it stopped. And I didn't know how to ask without sounding like I wanted more. But I do want something, not your money, just a chance to start over." It sounded genuine, but I knew better than to move too fast. You don't rebuild something that's rotted from the foundation by slapping on fresh paint. You start by tearing it down. A few nights later, I opened a blank email and wrote one to all of them. Gerald, Helen, Mark, and Danielle. Just a few lines. "I'm not ready to talk. I need time. If you really want to rebuild this family, it has to start with honesty and respect. You won't get another dollar from me, but if what you want is a relationship, a real one, I'm open to seeing if that's possible in the future. But it has to be different. It has to be mutual." Nathan, I didn't expect a reply. But within an hour, I had 3. None asked for money. None blamed me. They were short, hesitant, but respectful. Danielle wrote, "I understand. Thank you for saying that." Mark said, "I'm trying, Nate. I really am." Helen simply replied, "I'll wait. I love you." It wasn't resolution, but it was the first brick of something real. Maybe not a house, but a line, drawn clean in the sand, one I wouldn't cross again. By the time spring rolled around, I had settled into a strange rhythm of absence. The calls had stopped. No more money requests. No more late-night texts filled with guilt or thinly disguised manipulation. For the first time since I was 22, I didn't flinch when my phone buzzed. I didn't dread holidays. I didn't brace for someone else's emergency. I lived. I cooked for pleasure again. I started teaching a weekend class to teens interested in culinary school. I got a dog, a scrappy mutt named Basil, who barked at leaves and loved every human he met. I even put in an offer on a small cottage with a sunroom and enough space for a real herb garden. It wasn't big, but it was mine. 1 year to the day after I watched the Christmas video that changed everything, I received a letter, real letter, postmarked, handwritten, from Helen, 10 pages, folded neatly, inked in her neat, round script I hadn't seen since she used to leave notes in my lunchbox. It began, "My dearest Nathan, this letter has taken me 6 months to write and 5 rewrites to send. Every version before this one sounded like an excuse, or a justification, or a guilt trip. This one, I hope, is just the truth. I sat on the couch, sunlight filtering through the balcony windows, Basil curled at my feet, and I read. She didn't sugarcoat it. She admitted what they said in the video was cruel, that it wasn't just a joke, that it was how they talked when they thought I wasn't listening. And that made it worse. She wrote about how they'd gotten used to my help, how Gerald had stopped looking at their finances years ago, how Danielle believed, somehow, that I liked being the responsible one, that Mark assumed I didn't mind because I never said no. "We didn't just take advantage of your generosity," she wrote. "We built our lives around it. And when you stopped giving, we blamed you instead of looking at ourselves." She talked about the fallout, how Danielle had to move into a shared apartment and got a job as a receptionist at a local gym, how Mark had picked up night shifts driving for a courier service, that Gerald had finally downsized the house they'd clung to for pride, not practicality. "We should have been living like this all along," she wrote, "within our means, on our own." She told me they missed me. But more than that, she said they finally understood why I left. "You didn't leave us. We pushed you out." There was a moment mid-page 6 when I had to stop reading and walk away. Not because I was angry, but because I wasn't. Because she was finally telling the truth. The last few pages were memories. Childhood. Her favorite picture of me as a kid, covered in flour. The first time I made pasta from scratch. The day I got my first paycheck and took them all to dinner, even though I could barely afford it. I'm not writing to ask for money. I'm not even writing to ask for forgiveness. I'm writing to say, I see you now, the real you. Not the one we built stories around. The son who never asked for thanks, who gave everything anyway. And I am sorry. Deeply, truly sorry. She signed it. With love and regret, Mom. I didn't write back immediately. I wasn't ready to cross that bridge. Not yet. But I did write back, a week later. 2 pages, no accusations, no rehearsed pain. Just clarity. I thanked her for the letter, for not asking for anything this time. I acknowledged the hurt, not to reopen it, but to name it. I reminded her that boundaries weren't punishment. They were protection, not just for me, but for us. If we try again, it has to be different. Not polite, not fake, not about obligation, just honest. I'm not your provider. I'm not your lifeline. I'm your son. I told her I wasn't ready for family dinners or long phone calls, but I was open, slowly, cautiously, to relearning what it meant to be in a family. If they could accept the new version of me, the whole version, not just the helpful one, maybe we had a future. If not, I'd still be okay. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing their approval. I was choosing my own peace. On my birthday that summer, a small package arrived. No check inside, no hidden request. Just a framed photo from years ago, me at 12, holding a tray of burnt cookies, grinning like I'd invented fire. Tucked behind the frame, a note in Mom's handwriting. We've started baking again. Mark brings the kids over every Saturday. Danielle makes terrible pancakes, but she's trying. Gerald still burns toast. We miss your food, but mostly we miss you. And this time, we mean it. I smiled. Then I poured myself a glass of wine, turned on some jazz, and made a meal for one. Rich, slow, savory. Not to impress, not to soothe, just to nourish the person I'd finally learned to care for, me.